Welcome to the K2 Sales Podcast. I'm your host, Karen Kelly. Every week, I'll be sitting down with a sales executive where they'll share their stories and experiences that produce game-changing results. Let's be honest, sales can be a tough game. I'm sure at some point, we've all delivered a less than stellar demo, been ghosted by a client or two, and sometimes, maybe we did more talking than listening. And that's where I can help. The stories and insights our guests share can be applied to your own business, your territory, or with your team, so you're not reinventing the wheel. Our weekly tactics and strategies help you get out of your head and start creating your own path towards game-changing results. Welcome back to the K2 Sales Podcast. I'm your host, Karen Kelly. Now, when you think about 2024 and our approach as sales leaders, we want to drive results through our team. But in order to do that, we have to show up with our, using our authentic voice, with transparency, with empathy, building trust with our team. And oftentimes we don't. We're doing it in reverse, and we're looking at the activities, we're looking at metrics, KPIs, and they feel the disconnect. And unfortunately, we're not going to get the results we're looking for. And so I had the absolute pleasure of sitting down with Neil Weitzman, who is the founder of Porch, which is a community for immigrant entrepreneurs to Canada. He's also a fractional CRO, and he runs it out of Revenue X, which is his business. And Neil's able to share, his decades of experience working as a sales leader in corporate across various industries, and what he's seen working, and you'll feel, his authenticity and that he is people first. And at the end of the day, he says, just be a good person. I think when you are a good person, that's what you give off when you're talking to your team or your customers. And, our role is to create an experience for our team. How can we make them feel included, allow them to feel heard, hold space for them? Because when you do this, they feel it. And this is the culture we're creating. But more importantly, they're going to drive the results, not only for them, but for the company. And, you benefit from that as well. So we really talked about the importance of the soft skills of asking questions, not painting everyone in the team with the same brush, and really understanding what is important to you, what motivates you, what communication style do you prefer. So we individualize the connection. We are coaching them versus managing them. We're inviting them to come to the the awareness, versus us telling them what to do and disempowering them. And so highly encourage you to take a listen. Neil has great, tons of years of experience, and his advice and suggestions are on point. And I know that if you take some of them, you'll definitely see the results. So take a listen. Let us know if you've applied anything that Neil suggested and what results you were able to gain by them. Thank you for watching, everybody, and listening, and we'll see you next time. And I am absolutely delighted to bring Neil Weitzman to the podcast. So Neil, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Karen. I'm probably more delighted than you to be here.
Well, I don't know about that, but I'm excited to dive into a topic of something that's near and dear to my heart, and it really is focusing on sales leadership. And I know you have a ton of experience in it. So why don't we start with just your backstory and give us, bring us up to speed with your experience as a sales leader and what you do now as a fractional sales leader / CRO.
Wow. Okay. I'm getting old these days, Karen. So I try to keep my story short because I could go on forever. And I'm actually talking to you. I'm excited to be sitting here with my a little bit burnt face and my Florida shirt. I'm working remotely from Florida right now because, and the reason I mention that is I'm a fractional CRO these days, which allows me a little bit of the luxury of working remotely in different places, which I absolutely love to do. But gosh, my story, grew up in data and analytics, worked at a company called Nielsen. Many of you who might listen to this might have heard about Nielsen, big data research company. Loved it, learned a ton, fell in love with leadership and people first leadership, which I know you're very aligned to. So excited to talk a bit about that with you. And that's where I took a lot of courses on leadership and coaching and really fell in love with, the passion of what a real leader is. I've worked at Deloitte, I've worked at Rogers. The last decade or so I've spent in mostly B2B SaaS as a CRO and leading partnership teams and so on. But about 3 years ago or so, when COVID kind of hit, I left the, let's call it the full time working for someone else world. And I'm now a fractional CRO. I have my own firm. I love it. Happy to talk about that. I'm very passionate about it. I absolutely love it. I focus on B2B SaaS companies for the most part, mostly early stage. And I basically come in and help CEOs build out their revenue team, their structure, their process. Sometimes that's just sales, sometimes that's sales and marketing related. And every client I have is unique. I love it. I'm very passionate about that and would love to chat more about it. The one other thing I'd mention, and then I'll be quiet and turn it back over to you, is maybe the most important thing in my life, Karen, and from a career perspective, is a company I founded with my son called Porch. Porch is a community for immigrant entrepreneurs in or coming to Canada. And the reason I say it's probably the most important is everything else I've done in my career, not that I'm not excited for it or proud of what I've accomplished, but it's always been about, but mostly making money or selling product or selling software. And while that's been very rewarding in many ways, I feel like I had never helped people, if you will, like truly helped people. Porch, I'm 50 now, so Porch is a part of my career that I'm proud of because we're actually doing things that help people and people who need help, to help them come to Canada and be more successful and make it easier for them. And so very proud of that, and we're very proud of what we're building there. But I'll stop there and let you get back in here, of course.
You mentioned you're in Florida, so and you mentioned you're getting old. So are you now a snowbird, as we as we would say?
I won't even go into the details of my wife and I discussing that, but no, we're not. I'm just here for a few weeks, taking advantage of a rental that some family have. So we're just here enjoying ourselves. We'll be back in the Great White North in a few weeks.
That's good. And I guess some of the perks of being a fractional CRO is you can, work from anywhere you want, which is amazing. You mentioned a few things here that you took. First of all, that you love leadership, which is great. I think you have to love it if you're going to be in anything. But that you took courses in coaching, and to be honest, a lot of people I talk with that have not done that. And the challenge I see, and I'm sure you've come across this, deal, is just that moving from that individual contributor or driving revenue through product, and then all of a sudden trying to get those same results through people, while it's a completely different skill set. So the fact that you took a different path is refreshing and admirable.
Yeah, well, thank you. I mean, a lot of people have done what I've done, of course, not nearly enough, in my opinion. Um, I think when people move from ICs to leadership, frankly, the first darn thing their company should do is put them through a course on what leadership is all about. And not only that, what's the difference between a coach and a manager? I took a course. It wasn't until later in my career, and I'm grateful. When I used to work at Rogers, they put me through an executive leadership course, and I think it was Royal Roads University, but I'm not positive. Had some incredible leaders who did work on coaching and managers, and we did role play, and it was fantastic. The difference between coaching and managing is huge, and I think most leaders don't understand that and don't execute on that well at all, and that makes a huge difference to their success, team success, and so on.
Hmm. So why don't you share with us your definition of the coach versus manager for those who are perhaps
Sure,
not aware of
sure,
what it is?
yeah, sure. Man, I would say it this way to keep it kind of simple without going too deep and talking forever. To me, managing is the day to day. It's the what's due Friday, what's going on, what did your client just say, did you do what you're supposed to be doing, how can I help you, how can I kind of pave the road for you. It might have any number of discussions. You are kind of their direct manager. I often refer to it as kind of their HR manager, the person that deals with their career, and what's going on in the business day to day. And that's very, very important. Of course it is. But the difference is a coach is not about what I want or what's due tomorrow or what's due Friday. It's Karen, what's going on? How are you feeling? What are you looking at? What's working well for you? What's not? How can I help? And it's listening. It's asking questions and listening and kind of helping you figure things out and get to the answers you need, not what I need, but what you need. And only you can determine that. So it's probably 90% listening and 10% asking questions. It's about me not giving you my opinion per se, unless asked for, or telling you what to do. It's just helping you get through your thoughts to get to achieving a goal or improving in a certain way or whatever it is that you might want to talk about that particular month or week. But it's a very different approach, and it's about you more so than it is about me or the business.
And just as you were explaining that, Neil, I could actually feel it. I felt your tonality change there, and I could feel that it was emotionally, there was an underpinning of emotion there. And I think that's what we need to do. We need to solely focus on the rep or the individual and not make it about us, which oftentimes, most times it's done. And I think most
Yeah,
times we're also giving them the answer and we're not inviting them
yeah,
or giving them space for that curiosity and that confidence. It's like everything's within me. I just have to tap
yeah.
into it.
100%. And I mean the feeling of helping you get there by allowing you to get there yourself is so much more rewarding than me saying, Karen, that wasn't a very good demo. Here's the three things you should do differently.
Yeah. And just on that, Neil, do you think that like where do you break or intercept that pattern? Is that the manager or the leader, was coached in that way as well? Or is it like they haven't like what's happening there? How can we invite these new leaders to really allow their team to try, and even if it fails, that's still a result.
Yeah, gosh, great question. I mean, if we could solve that, then we should start a business on it. um, um, I think it is what you said. It's two things. It's one, if you happen to have lucky enough to have a leader who understands this and went through this learning or courses or training, then you're hopefully going to learn that same thing and carry it on in your career, and that's a wonderful thing. And everyone who reports to you will be grateful for that. If your leader isn't like that, then it's very, very difficult. Obviously, you don't know what you don't know. Some people don't even have never experienced the difference between the two, and therefore just don't know what we're even talking about right now. And they're like, "Wow, that makes sense. I've never experienced that before." Um, I do think a lot of companies are paying more attention to learning and development than they used to, or at least I believe that.
Yeah.
Um, However, I still think that many of them, in my network anyway, are paying attention to learning and development as it relates to sales skills and things like that, as opposed to true leadership. I think it's hard to quantify what we're talking about. And a lot of people, especially in today's market, I think, have a hard time putting money towards things that are more, let's call them very soft skills. So I think that's unfortunate and sad because I would argue that training someone to be a wonderful and people first leader is 100 times more valuable and will give you a greater ROI than teaching someone how to do a cold call better in the long run for sure. So that's unfortunate. I'm not sure I know how to solve that other than bringing in, talking to the right people and hopefully, starting to become a believer in that.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. And one thing I always say is soft skills produce hard results. And
I like it.
even when I was in corporate like years ago, I remember them saying, "Oh, the fluffy stuff or the emotional stuff," and it just
Right.
makes me cringe to think that. But like, if you're focusing on the tactical and let's write an email, let's get a cold calling script. Yeah, those are important. But if you're not addressing the bigger picture and the connection between you and your rep and the fact that they feel trust, that there's trust there, that there's an openness, who cares what they're saying? They're going to fall flat anyway.
No one's a good cold caller if they're not happy and passionate and excited and in the right frame of mind and excited for where they work and excited about the business and excited as you as their manager. If they're none of those things are true, their cold calls are going to be shit. Period.
Totally. And just when you were sharing about when we were talking about why perhaps they're giving them the answers and they're just not willing to lead. And one quick story I have is I remember someone asked me to teach a marathon course, how to train. And I remember thinking, I'm not ready to help others achieve their goals because I haven't fully achieved mine. And so I would have been, in essence, competing with them. And I'm just curious now if some of these managers maybe didn't achieve the level of success that they felt. Maybe they got into management too early. And there's this competition where for me, I went and I did. My goal was to run the Boston Marathon and I ran it. And then I came back and I was like, solely focus on them. I was like, what is your time you want? What is this? And it was like to the point of, too much almost, but my goal had been achieved. I was so out of the picture. And so I just had a feeling maybe some of these managers are still, whether it's in denial or not, but they're secretly fighting for these results or this identity as a salesperson that they can't let go. And what this is doing is disempowering or not allowing your team to do what they're meant to do.
Well, first of all, congratulations on the Boston Marathon. That's amazing. Um, my wife ran a marathon once. It was the most emotional, amazing thing I've ever
Emotional,
seen.
isn't it?
So,
Yes, yes.
oh my
Good for
God,
her.
I,
Yeah.
I don't cry much, but it was amazing. It was unbelievable. Um, anyway, um, what you're touching on, I think, talks to me about a couple of things. One is, two things. I thought about the player coach role when you were talking about that. The idea that if you're still kind of playing the game, it's hard to be the coach and the leader. And a lot of companies, smaller ones especially, think the player coach sales leader could work. And it sometimes can, but it is difficult. It is very difficult. You definitely need the right type of person who can make that work. Not everyone can, because it does touch on what you're talking about. The other is the comp plan. I think if you don't have a comp plan that is built, I mean, you get what you incentivize and pay people for to a large degree. And so if your comp plan isn't built for the right type of leader that you're trying to grow and build in the company, then it's not going to work. And that means, in my opinion, much more of a view to long-term results than short-term. It even means a sales leader that maybe has nothing to do with traditional commission in their plan and their bonus based on hitting certain corporate objectives and long-term value for their clients. Because the minute you take a sales leader, let's just call him a CRO or her a CRO for a minute, the minute she is incentivized and paid only on closing the sale for Friday is the minute you're not necessarily taking the right actions for the business or the team or the people in the long term. And that's a problem. So I've done a lot of work around comp plans and been learning quite a bit about this. And, building a right comp plan to a large degree gets you the leader that you want.
Absolutely. And I think you can see the fall off point when it is that short term results. And then you look at this customer success or experience for the sales rep, but also from the sales leader standpoint, their team. It's
Yeah.
like it's that short win, but then what happens after that? And even look at the tenure of a sales leader. I think it's 19 months now. So are they even going to be in the role by the time these come to fruition?
Yeah. Yeah. And what's chicken or the egg there, right? Are they not in the role because you built a short-term comp plan and, who knows what the real reason is? Every situation's different, but I think we're going about it wrong when it comes to leadership.
Yeah. No, and what are your thoughts, Neil, on the sales rep, just taking a sales rep for a moment and seeing aligning the compensation? First of all, let me ask you this. Do we feel that we're painting everyone with the same brush, that compensation in terms of, money, dollars, is the motivating factor for everybody?
Gosh, that's a good question. Well, we're talking about sales, so money has to be involved in some way.
Mm-hmm.
That's the job of the salesperson, is to close deal, bring in, build pipeline, close deal, work the deals, close the deals, bring in revenue for the company. I think in almost every case that would be true to the sales role.
Mm-hmm.
So there definitely needs to be a component of financial based compensation. Should that be 90% of it, 50% of it? I think that can vary. I do think, though, to answer your question, Karen, no, definitely not everybody is incentivized to the same degree by money. We all need it,
Mm-hmm.
mostly
Yeah.
anyway. But to what degree is that really what's driving or fueling you for success? The answer is no. We just assume it is. I've worked with a lot of CEOs who say, Neil, find me someone who is hungry for money, because that's what I think will drive our results. And if they're not hungry for money, if when you ask them what motivates them, if the answer isn't money, we don't want them. And I think that's a little naive or blind. Um, I need them to appreciate the money, but I don't need them to be motivated by it.
Yeah.
They could be motivated by career growth. They could be motivated by, depending on what your product, brand, and business is, by what you do, and that you might be helping people. lots of variation there. They might be motivated because they want to become a CRO one day, and that's where they're going to make big money. But today it's not about that, and they just want to learn and grow.
Mhm.
Everyone is different, and to me, that's I imagine knowing you, Karen, that you're incredible at this. But hopefully, I wish all leaders were, which is it's just having that discussion. It's
Mhm.
before you ever hire them. What motivates you? Why are you looking at this
Mhm.
job? What is your reasons for success, and what are you trying to do? And tell me about that. That's what's important. I think we just, to your point, paint everyone with a brush, or mostly, and say, okay, here's the comp plan, and here it is, and look how wonderful it is. You can make a lot of money and a big bonus, and we don't stop to ask enough. And that comes back to coaching. It's asking questions versus telling.
I think that's great. I just wrote that down, that coaching versus manager, what you said, and that's it. Just we assume that it is money, and a lot of people, that's what it is. But I've made that mistake before, and it wasn't.
Yeah,
It was I want to be part of something that matters.
yeah, yeah, me too. I've
It
made the
was
mistake plenty of times.
yeah, and so although I just did a hire and it was pure money, I'm like, okay, well, this is easy now.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, there's nothing
No.
wrong with someone to be motivated by that.
Yep.
But we're all different. We should
Yep.
never assume that everyone's the same, or that just because you're a salesperson, you're the same as the other salesperson.
And I think what the risk there is that the culture can be eroded by that because everybody wants to feel heard and just know that their opinion and their information has been considered, right? Versus
Yeah,
just, oh yeah, well, you guys are all motivated by money. And it's like, I'm not. And so it just,
yeah,
you dismiss people. And so I
for
think
sure.
it's really important, as you said, is just to take time and figure out, like, ask questions like, what is it? So that I know when I'm dangling a carrot, yours isn't the money carrot.
Yeah, and that should be your first meeting. If you didn't talk about that during the interview phase, let's call it the onboarding. And meeting number one. Hi, Karen. Great. We're so excited you're here. The first thing I want to talk about, so that I can be a great leader for you, is
Mhm.
I need you to tell me what you like, what you don't like. How do you like to communicate? What's motivating you?
Mhm.
I have 20 questions to go through. And it's, again, me asking questions and listening, because I want to be the best leader I can for you, and
Mhm.
the type of leader you might need is different than the type of leader that Joey or Sally need.
Mhm.
And so I need to ask those questions, or else I'm going to apply what I think is right.
Yeah.
And sadly, more times than not, I'm going to be wrong.
And I love that you added context there, is that, I think that's supporting them, letting them know why you're asking these questions, why it's important so that I can do my job of supporting you. I think that's really
Yeah.
important. And just so you said what you were saying, Neil, about like what you like, what you dislike, how you motivate, you're asking this of your team to get to know them better and to understand that. But how many sales leaders do you think actually know that about themselves? So do they know? And they might know what they liked, what they disliked, what motivated them, what empowered them before. But are they close enough? Are they reflective enough? Are they leaning inward enough to know what that purpose driven mindset is now? Because if they're trying to support their team with it, but they don't know what theirs is themselves, there's going to be a disconnect.
Yeah, that's a great question or topic to dive into. I mean, I agree. I don't think many of us look in the mirror enough. Um, there's a lot that's gone on the last 4 years, especially.
Hmm.
This has always existed, but the last 4 years, with everything that's gone on with, the COVID era, if you will, remote work, like everything has changed so much. I think many of us have gone through learning and awakening in many ways on what we enjoy and don't enjoy. And I think many, as we know, we look at the numbers, many people have changed jobs and roles and how they work and what they are willing to do and not do anymore. So I think that's very related to looking in the mirror and trying to being honest with ourselves. I will not take a job anymore that is not fully remote.
Hmm.
That's your choice, and you need to understand what makes you happy. So I think that's really, really important. And I think, to your point, Karen, it's hard to be, I think, a great leader or even a good person,
Hmm.
um, which I think those two things hopefully go very well together. Um, if you aren't honest with yourself and happy, we whether we mean to or not, when I'm in a bad mood, people see it. People, I try to hide it sometimes, but people see it. My family sees it. People I work with see it. Um, And so you need to try to be happy as much as you can, and you sometimes you can't just turn that off and on, right? You need to be, do I enjoy this job, this role? Do I enjoy the people around me? And if not, figure out why not and change it, or get the heck out and find something that does enjoy. Because I truly believe that if if you are passionate and happy, happy sounds like such a simple word to use here. It's probably not appropriate, but if you're passionate and challenged and excited about where you are, people see that it's motivating without it even trying to be motivating. People see who you are and your energy, and they will follow that energy.
Mhm, mhm,
And it's contagious. But if you are not those things, then you are. I wish there maybe there is a study on this. That if you are not those things, what is the effect on the business?
mhm.
Um, Hard to quantify, but I guarantee you it's a negative effect on the business overall. Um, anyway, I could ramble on for that forever, but let me pause there. See where you want to
Y
go with
y
it.
No, no, great points there. I think you said one thing is we have to find out why. And to be honest, I don't know how many people are willing to slow down and look inward because I think they're afraid of what they're going to see. But I'm just curious with what you said. I couldn't agree more about contagious and that energy. It becomes magnetic that people want to be around you. And when you
For sure.
shifted from the corporate to CRO, was there any of that playing into your decision to leave in that, maybe your purpose has changed, you were no longer fulfilled? Was that part of your reason for moving away?
Yeah. Thank you for asking that. To a certain degree, yeah. I mean, I've always worked for other people, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. I had a very rewarding career doing that, and I learned a ton. And I wouldn't be a good fractional CRO or entrepreneur today if I hadn't done those things. So they're all, method to the madness, or very, very grateful for it all. But yes, I am happier now than I've ever been in my career, I think. Or as soon as I realized that it's okay to be happy and I deserve to be happy, and it wasn't
Mm,
just a job trying to make money to pay bills. So from that time, I absolutely love being a fractional CRO. I love running my own company. I love finding my own clients. I love working with many different people and CEOs who I hope to be educating and teaching and coaching. And I learn just as much from them. Um, I absolutely love it, and I do believe I know you know me a little bit, Karen, so I'm always kind of energetic and passionate about things, but I've never been more so. Um, and I like to think, I won't. I hope others would say this, but I like to think that the clients that hire me see that and enjoy that and benefit from that as well. And I think who I am is part of my success as a fractional CRO, not just because I know a lot of sales stuff.
mhm,
I think it's who I am as my personality, and that's a fit for some people and not for others. To be fair, um, there's lots of CEOs that I might talk to who my personality and my energy is not a fit for.
mhm,
Um, just like any sales process. So sometimes that works well, and sometimes it doesn't, and that's okay because I have the luxury of being able to not choose a client, just like they cannot choose me.
mhm.
So it goes both ways there. But yeah, birds of a feather flock together. So, happy people who want to meet more people and have that great energy, I think usually get along pretty darn well, and it's a nice fit.
Mhm. Maybe that's why we get along so well.
To me, even.
Well, you said your clients, they see it, they enjoy it, they benefit from your energy, and what I would add to that is they feel it. I think there's a feeling that you get that people, and I can feel it, that you're not phoning it in, that there's a true authenticity there.
Yeah, thank you. I'm starting to blush more than I'm already burnt. Um, Thank you. Yeah, and you're the same. I mean, that's why people get along so well, is right. You feel the warmth, you feel the energy. Um, you want to hang out with those people. You want to talk
Mhm.
to them. You want to learn
Yep.
from them, and vice versa. Um, that's kind of what sounds cheesy. It's kind of what makes the world go round. It's wanting to meet new people and work together. And when you find people you like, you should be working together and learning from each other.
Mhm. And you mentioned the word happy, and I would say fulfilled. I think when people are fulfilled, and happy in what we do because we're choosing this path, that people we surround ourselves are getting the best of us because we're choosing to be here. We want to be here. But like you, I spent 20 years in corporate and I loved it. And it gave me the tools, the framework, the systems I needed
Yeah,
to springboard into what I'm doing now.
for
And like
sure.
you said, it's not for everybody, but I can also choose. Like if there's not an alignment energetically, vision wise, whatever, or I can't help you, or you don't like the energy, like, hey, there's enough of us to go around, but
For
that's
sure.
the beauty of it. No one's pushing an opportunity down my throat that I don't
Yeah.
want to do it. And I think when you can be selective like that, you're really choosing and you're getting this heightened awareness of who the best client is for me and who I am the best
Uh,
for. And then there's that repeatability because you're like, I know these guys, like, we don't work together, but this, oh my God, we light up.
Yeah, I love that. I say that in one of my first meetings when I'm prospecting or having a discovery call with a potential client, the CEO generally. And I say, listen, if you just want to say this up front, this is a great discussion, whether we go somewhere together or not. It's great to meet you. And if I'm
Hmm.
not a fit for you, please be blunt and honest with me. I've got a lot of other fractional CROs who might be a fit for you. Just let me know and I will give you
Hmm.
their names. Um, and so I'm very upfront about that. And I think that's the right approach is not everyone's a fit for everyone.
Yep.
And sadly, it's easier to be that when you're kind of selling yourself. We should be like that when we're selling a product or software too.
Hmm.
And companies talk a lot about that we're not a fit for everyone. But rarely do companies say no to
Yeah.
clients. And it ends up being a nightmare at times, right? There's a lot of bad clients out there for SaaS companies, for example, when they should have said no, this is not going to work out. But it's hard to
Hmm.
turn down that money when you're a, you know, VC invested company that you need
Yeah.
to get to those short term results.
And I get it. I get even as an entrepreneur, there's that scarcity mindset that I have to say yes for anybody. And I would just say that once,
Yeah,
live through the hell, and you
yeah,
probably won't say it again.
for sure.
But when you can detach from the outcome and give them that out, and there's a freedom there for you, but also for them because you're not leading in desperation, and chances are they're probably gonna hang around with you because they feel like this guy's probably in high demand, like I gotta hang on to him.
Well, I wish that was always true. I don't win every deal, that's for sure. I mean, I build a lot of great relationships, and I win some and I lose some, just like
Mhm.
anyone.
Yeah.
But I'm happier than I've ever been, and I think it's the right approach.
And so when you're having these conversations, discovery, prospecting, etc., do you do you weave your core values or your beliefs into kind of a leadership language? So are you letting them know kind of what you stand for, what your beliefs are, so they get a sense of that purpose in those types of conversations?
Yeah, that's a great question. As you're asking that, I was thinking, geez, maybe I need to do that better. Um, I would say I don't purposely do that in the sense that there's not a section of the conversation where I say, let me tell you what I believe or what my values are.
Hmm.
Um, but because most of my, I guess, prospecting process or maybe the discovery process, the getting to know each other process before anyone would hire me,
Hmm.
there's generally more than one call. So there might be a couple hours of getting to know each other before anyone would sign something with me. Um, and I believe that during that time together, they get a good sense through all the discussion of who I am and the values because they ask a lot of questions and I ask a lot of questions of them and I'm not shy about what I believe. So when they ask
Hmm.
me how would you deal with this situation, Neil, or what's your thoughts on strategy ABC, or I've got a challenging AE and I don't know what to do with it, um, you know, I give them the answer that I believe. I think they see what I believe in the values pretty clearly, but I
Hmm.
don't purposely kind of bring it out or talk about it. And maybe I
Hmm.
should. Maybe that's a good thought. I need to do a better job of.
Well, the reason I ask that is I think I think if you're weaving it in, it's great. But I think when you look at a product like the SaaS-based companies, that is commoditized, right? But
Right.
even within sales leadership, we can be commoditized. So it's a way, like for me, connection is one of my core values. So when I can weave in that I value connection, all of a sudden there's a differentiation between me and someone else that's just looking at the KPIs and how they can hit their quarterly numbers. And there's a person behind it. And if
Right.
my prospects also value connection, all of a sudden there's a bit of an alignment. But at the end of the day, it's like saying you can trust me. Well, instead of saying it, why don't you show them so they
Yeah.
feel it? So there's a way to do it, but I think also it's important to know what our core values are. Like
Right.
what's guiding us, what's allowing us, what's at the forefront of our decision making.
Yeah. It just made me think about, Karen, the kind of silly corporate web page where it says, here's our 5 core values, of which, maybe half jokingly here, that anyone who works there would say that's bullshit. We don't do any of that. Um, so that kind of, when you state, here's my core values, and I know you're not suggesting that in that way at all. Um, but that's what made me think about it. It's like, well, here's our core values and here's our web page, and the core values and what you stand for, it's your personality, it's who you are, it's what's important to you. It's and it should start with the leader. And if it's a small company, it might be the founder. If it's, what was this built on? What do we stand for, as whether it's a big company, small company, or an individual? um, I just, it shouldn't be what are the things we should be, and let's put them on a piece of paper. We should be this and we should be that, and we're all about innovation. And then the people who work there are like, we haven't innovated in 5 years. We don't know what we're talking about. So that I've seen that way too many times. I mean, pick a company, we can probably
Yeah.
have some fun with it.
And so when you said it's starts with the leader or the founder, and I would agree with that. So talk to us about their role as a leader, whether it's a small company or founder led, in creating the culture that eventually will attract or help them attract that first or second hire.
So yeah, it's great. I mean, I believe very much in kind of lead by example. I mean, there's lots of different philosophies of leadership, but I believe in lead by example. I mean, you should walk the walk, talk the talk. Be act how you want your people to act, and if that is being, and hopefully it is, ethical and honest and transparent and authentic, then you damn well better be that. And if you're not that, then you can say those words all you damn well please.
Hmm.
That's not what you're going to get from your company, and you're going to, quite bluntly, I hope you fail if you're not those things. Um, if you want to be a company that, in today's day and age, more than ever, thankfully, is respected and trusted and gets referrals and has people say, whether or not you ever want to buy that product from Karen, you sure as hell should meet her because she's amazing. If you want people to say that about you, then you better be a good person, and a good person first. Who cares about your product? Just be
Hmm.
a good person, and your business will more than likely benefit in a big way from that. So I think it starts with the founder, it starts with the leader, it starts
Hmm.
with blunt and honest, transparent discussions from the word go. Um, and I think we complicate it. I think investment and strategy gets in the way, and we say, well, wait a second, I can't tell them that because, I don't know, because that's not coming out yet, or, what if they react the wrong way? I think we just need to trust people more and trust each other. And hey, listen, Karen, here's what's going on. Times are really tough right now. My VC is giving me a hard time, and the investors are that, and I want you to understand this, because I want you to understand why I might have been stressed lately. And, I think we need to show our authentic self and just be open. And, you know, having moments of weakness is not actually a weakness, it's a strength. And telling people that and being open to it, I think people
Hmm.
follow that.
Yep.
And I'm just rambling now, Karen. I'm sorry, but I, I get into this a lot because I just think people think leadership is all about strength and macho ness, and it's not. It's not that. It's just about being a good
Hmm.
person and being honest and
Hmm.
transparent and helping people. And if you do that, man, people will want to work for you. People will follow you. People will refer people to you. It's pretty simple, I think. We've been taught all these other things that I think are wrong.
Oh, where do I start? Let's rewind 3 minutes and let me
Sorry.
just go back. No, because it was such good stuff you were sharing, and it's so in line with what I believe, and just what you said there is be a good person first. And I think it's like, forget sales. Like, who are you a good person? Or do you value integrity? Or do you make ethical and moral decisions? All those things are huge. And leading with transparency. Like when you look at companies now, and budgets are cut, people are laying off, a lot of the tech stacks have been removed. All they want is, like you said, trustworthy, honest companies, and they want, they're risk averse. So it's like if you can get referred in, like they're going to take you because you've been vetted. And what they want, even Gartner study, is they value the experience more than price and product.
Yep.
So it's like they are going to remember how you make them feel. And I know that's very Maya Angelou, and that's what it is, but it's like, how are you showing up as a good person? Are you just looking at the bottom line? Are you thinking how much money I'm going to make? Because that's what they're evaluating you on, and they're going to feel that in the first 10 seconds you get on the phone.
100%, 100%. And if you act in, let's call it the right way and the wrong way, just to put
Yeah.
labels on it, if you act in the right way, you may not win that deal. There's other factors involved, but you will build a new relationship. You may get referrals from it, and they may come back to you. If you do it the wrong way, you might still lose. You're likely going to lose the deal, and you will get none of those other things. So it's pretty black and white, in my opinion, as to how you should be acting as a salesperson. And I mean, we all hear this from a sales skill. You're there to help them solve a problem, not to sell them a product. But I don't think that goes far enough. I think that just talks about the problem of the product or the pain they have. And yes, that's important, but obviously you're not going to sell the product if you can't solve the pain they have. But you can go so much better. Build a relationship, make a friend, get to know them a little bit. And not everyone's willing to engage like that with you, but that's where you come to the idea of fit. But those who engage, again, you can feel their energy, and they want to answer your questions, and they want to talk to you, and they ask you questions back. And then you start saying, okay, whether or not you buy this product, this is awesome. And
I know.
Oh yeah, and let's see if we can work together. And if not, we can be friends, and we might help each other tomorrow.
Yeah. And that feels so good because I've won deals in the past where we probably shouldn't have won them. No, and you feel dirty, like really,
Yeah.
versus letting go, knowing that it didn't work out. But like you said, like I don't feel unethical. I don't feel like I need to take a shower, like I was that sleazy salesperson, because that's never me. But I think you have to know that that will come back to you. And even if it doesn't in a form of referral, like you were a good person, you did, like at the end of the day, I want to know that I can look at myself in the mirror and I did the right thing. I wasn't a good fit. I'm not an expert in that domain, and I'm happy to refer somebody because I just think like I don't want to be a fraud.
Yeah, no, for sure. I agree. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, it sounds like I'm all uh, soft and emotional, and I am at times, but I'm very metrics driven and very results driven. I just
Yep.
believe the way to get to those results and
Yes.
KPIs is in this manner. I believe you have a much better chance of getting the results you want if you act and believe what we're talking about today, as opposed to high activity, lots of cold calls, just freaking pump it out and spray and pray and all these different things that have nothing to do with authenticity and relationships.
And I am the same. We need data, we need metrics, we need measurables, we need to hold people accountable, but we need to do that under the umbrella of what we're talking about, that authenticity, that leading with purpose, that people first. Because what I see, and I coach sales leaders, and I remember coaching this one guy, and he said, I just go in every day and say, like, show me your spreadsheet, show me your call activity. And I'm like, well, this is after you say, how was your weekend and stuff? Because Karen, I don't care about that
Yeah.
stuff. And I'm like,
Goodbye.
oh, okay.
Yeah,
Well,
goodbye.
and I'm like, your team doesn't care about you. And
Yeah.
then the next call, he said, I asked them, and I go, and what happened? He goes, oh my God, like they were totally talking to me,
Yeah,
and
there
then
you
they were
go.
showing me, and I just thought like it took a second, and he actually didn't care. And I'm just thinking, but there are people like that. And so it's hard to almost show them behind the curtain until they've felt it themselves. And so when he felt it first time and saw the difference,
Yeah.
he was converted. But some people need to see that proof, and it's just like you're dealing with people here. People have emotions,
Yep.
and if you want to move them, you got to make it about them.
Right. Yeah. But the way you solve that problem is you were blunt and honest and had an honest discussion with that person so that they would, see the light, if you will. Um, and that's the way to do it, right? We just got to address things head on. Hey, why is this not happening? Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
People are not reacting in the right way to you that I want to see them react. Let's talk about why that might be. What do you think?
Yeah.
So I think a lot of sales leaders are scared, might be too strong a word, but hesitant to just be
Mhm.
blunt and honest on what's going on and different things.
And what are they hesitant of? What are they afraid is gonna happen if they do that?
It's a good question. I don't know. I feel like you're testing me now, Karen. Is there a right
No,
answer here?
I'm no, I'm just I should have prefaced in your opinion, in your
No, no, it's okay.
experience, because
Um,
everyone's got
yeah, I don't
their
know. I mean,
opinion,
they might. Usually, I think it would be um, a lack of confidence in how to deal with the situation,
Mhm.
depending what the answer might be. Um,
Yeah.
and quite honestly, I think there's still a huge, even back to the leadership training discussion we were briefly having, is part of being a leader is being able to deal with conflict.
Mhm.
Because it's going to happen. And sometimes you need to make it happen in certain ways to get to a good conversation. Um, and some people, just by nature of who they are, unless they're trained and felt and taught how to do it or go through role play situations, just avoid conflict everywhere. And so if
Mhm.
I need to bring something up with you, Karen, that's not going to be great news, I'm going to do everything in my power to avoid having that conversation with you until I'm forced to have it. And that's
Mhm.
obviously not a good thing. And you need to address things right away. And it could be how someone's feeling. It could be they aren't performing. Could be someone on their team is not happy with them, and so you need to talk. I mean, there could be a million things, but you got to address them, and you got to be willing to be open and honest and have that conversation.
Mhm. I couldn't agree more, and just when I was asking you that question, one thing that came to mind for me is why, leaders kind of are not afraid to slow down and really be vulnerable is I just reflect back on my career, and a lot of the time, they stood up at the front, and they kind of had this, like, "I got all the answers, like, I know everything." And I just feel that the team's looking at them and they can't relate to them because they're thinking, I don't know everything. And even when you think about COVID and they're so certain of this path forward, and you're like, but no one's been through this before. So there's almost this, I don't really believe in what you're saying, and I can't connect with you because you know it all and I don't. And I think when you can be vulnerable and just say, like, hey, this is going to be a tough time. We actually don't have a short-term strategy moving forward, but together we're going to collaborate and we're going to work it out. All of a sudden, people's guards come down and they're like, "Okay, I see some similarities here because we don't know what we're doing." And then you invite people
Yeah.
into that collaboration. And I just think when you stand up there and you claim to know all the answers, I don't trust you anymore because I'm like, unless you're Jesus, I don't know how you know all the
Yeah.
answers because I
So
don't.
I love that. I mean, it just had me thinking there. I did a talk fairly recently for a large organization sales team on leading through difficult times.
Hmm.
And if you'd like, I can send you what I'm about to refer to for you and your listeners. But Karen, you know how to do this already, but maybe not everyone on the call listening to this does. So I
Yep.
have this cool template that talks about exactly what you're just saying, how to communicate what's going on. COVID's a perfect example, but it could be any difficult time. It could be uh, virus related. It could be a hurricane. It could be any number. It could be layoffs. It could be any number of things that we might call a difficult time or tough times. And exactly like you just said, the template does a really good job of saying, here's what we know. Here's what's going on. Here's what we don't know.
Hmm.
Here's what we're doing to get the answers on what we don't know. And here's when you're going to hear back from us. So there's
Hmm.
this real acknowledgement of what we know, what we don't know, but not just leaving that open ended as well. It's saying, here's the actions we're taking, and here's when the next action in terms of when we're going to talk again or what you can do to get more information, who you can contact. So all of that is very, very important when it comes to, just like you said, like leading through these difficult times. Happy to share that. It's worked really well for me, and uh, resonates really well with people who are dealing with this sort of thing, especially as a leader, on how to communicate through it.
Mhm. Yeah, if you can send that, we'll include that template in the show notes. It
Sure.
sounds like it would be very helpful because I think in those times, people are looking for a path forward. And when you can lay that out, especially and it was almost in sequence there, like step 1, 2, 3, it allows them to go, okay, I'm not paralyzed anymore. I can see a way out of this, but also that they are part of that way out. Like there's an involvement. We also value your thoughts, your points of view, because that's when you can when they're involved and they're invited to the table, they have skin in the game and there's a bit of ownership and accountability. And I think when you deny them that, it's like change management.
Yeah.
You're not getting buy because you're not inviting them to be part of it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. Another good point on that, I think, is when when you're having these conversations about difficult times, what's going on, leadership, etc., through them, not everyone wants to be given answers. So even if there was answers, they're not always looking for answers. Sometimes they
Mhm.
just want to be heard, right?
Mm.
It's they just are expressing how they're feeling, and if you're expressing to me, let's God forbid there was a hurricane. I don't know why that's on my mind. Maybe because I'm in Florida.
You're in Florida.
Yes, I'm looking outside. It's windy. I'm like, but let's say there's a hurricane and your family has gone through a lot of difficult times during this period. And you say, listen, Neil, times are tough for me. I'm going through a lot with my family. This happened and that happened, and I'm scared right now. The last thing I should be saying to you is, oh, you shouldn't be scared, Karen. Don't worry. Right? It's condescending, and you're not looking for an answer. You're just expressing what's going on so I can hopefully understand and allow you the freedom or time or whatever you might need to get through this time. And I'm here for you, but you're not looking for me to tell you what to do. Who am I to, like, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, in most difficult times, if you will, that we're referring to, don't have answers, right? No one knows the answers to all these things, right? Violent attacks and terrorist stuff and hurricanes and COVID and things that affect us all. No one has all the answers. Nobody ever does, right? You just work your way through it, and you're there for people, and you listen, and you offer assistance if they ever want to talk to you again. Or anyway, yeah,
Mhm.
it's a really important area. And sadly, we've all had to learn how to do this really well over the last while. I think we're all better for it, and hopefully, a lot of leaders kind of grew up as leaders during the last 4 or 5 years. I hope
Yeah.
that's the case anyway, because we need to.
Yeah, and just what you said there, Neil, is sometimes they just want to feel heard. And I think as leaders, when we can hold space for our team, sometimes, like you said, that we don't. It's not up to us to provide a solution, but when they have the freedom to share and to think out loud, sometimes the answers or the awareness comes to them
Yep.
because again you're just a sounding board, and oftentimes in my coaching calls that's what happens. They come up with I don't say anything.
Yep.
And it's just like I've created that psychological safety and that freedom to say, like, you share your thoughts and the ahas come from them. So
Yep.
I think there's that holding space is such a good word,
Oh yeah.
but I think it's not often done because listening, as a leader, if I'm listening, I'm thinking also, like, how can I give them the answer? And
Right.
it's like, well, are you listening to understand?
Yeah.
Are you listening to hold space? And like you said, with that coaching, to really make it about them,
Yeah.
to remove any barriers that allow them to see the clarity and go,
Yeah.
I see now. I see my next step.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't think there's anything wrong with asking either, right? Like, let's say you and I are sitting down for a conversation. I don't think there's anything wrong with saying, "Hey, Karen, just I want to
Mhm.
make sure I'm here for you. Are you
Yes.
looking for me to listen? Are you
Hmm.
looking for some
Hmm.
advice? Is there, what are you looking for? Because I want to do the best I can for you." And there's nothing wrong with
Yeah.
asking that either. And if the person says, "I just got to get some things out and I want to tell you how I'm feeling," then I damn well better not give you advice. I should shut up, listen,
Yeah.
ask a couple questions maybe. Uh,
Hmm.
it's okay to, again, if you're not sure, ask.
Yeah, I think that's very, very valid point because we could run the risk of giving advice and it's unsolicited. They're not ready for it. And it might, again, what is advice? It's all from our past experience. It might actually put them further
For
down than
sure.
they already are.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, listen, you've shared so many insights, and I know you're data analytics, so there's a lot of metrics and data driven, and we kind of took it above the layer there and more purpose driven and authenticity. And I just think when you can lead with that, you can access the other measurable and the more left brain
Yeah.
analytics that much easier because they feel there's a connection there and they feel that you're genuinely there to support them. Therefore, they're going to share that information with you.
Fully. Fully. And I agree. And being, doing all the things that we've been talking about today, I think set you up to
Hmm.
talk about the metrics, the KPIs, and know that it's based in a good place and foundation. And that when you do need to maybe push the person a little bit in the right way, if you ever have to, they trust you. They know you're coming from a good place. They know who you are. They know what type of leader you are. So there'll be those times, right? Hey, Karen, you're not close to quota. We got to talk about this. We need to figure out what's going on. I'm here to help you. It's not. It's a very different discussion based in trust and a good relationship, and not this sales leader only gives a shit about one thing, and
Mhm.
so it makes a huge difference in the long run, especially.
It does
Yeah,
indeed. It
yeah,
does indeed. And so, Neil, if
yeah.
there's people listening out, they're sales leaders and they're or emerging sales leaders, and they're thinking, God, this is all making sense. And I really want to, be people first and purpose driven and understand my authenticity so that I can, share that with my team. Is there like one or two things that you would suggest they do to really get that inner awareness so that they can start
Hmm.
making sense of it all to them?
Gosh, good question. The world of community. We've all talked about that many, many times. It's a growing area, and community, I think, means different people. It's kind of or different things. It's kind of the feeling of your own community, which, the new word for that is go-to network. What's your go-to network? Um, but there's also literally physical communities to join. Um, Most communities are the good ones, and I'm even going to mention a couple, are wonderful places where I think this feeling, this discussion that we're having lives and glows and is there all the time, because most communities are built on this type of thinking, to help one another, to be there for one another, to lend a hand, give a referral, etc. Um, and so I would say if you're a sales leader and you're not in a community that provides this, damn well get in one. Like, find your tribe. You learn so much. You connect with people. You learn from osmosis. You learn from one another. It's unbelievable. I know the last 7 years or so of my career, I think I've learned more than all the other years combined exponentially, because I've joined different communities. Um, and so I think that's the big thing, and it provides all kinds of learning opportunities as well. So, Pavilion's a community. If anyone hasn't heard of that, that's for senior revenue leaders for the most part. There's another Sales Assembly is an incredible company that helps with learning and community. There's all kinds of them out there. Rev Genius. There's many of them in the sales and marketing space. If anyone wants to connect with you, Karen, or me, I can help them. Um, but also, I am so passionate about that. I built a community called Porch, um, just specific to exactly this, but specific to one type of people, and that's immigrant entrepreneurs to Canada. As I sit in Florida, I'm talking about this in Canada. Um, but we built a community exclusively for immigrant entrepreneurs on their way or coming to Canada, because immigrant entrepreneurs need that help and assistance. And Canada, in my opinion, can do a much better job of providing that to them, to give them an easier way to get into the country, an easier way to learn, to be successful, to grow their business, and so on. And so everything we've been talking about today are discussions we have in Porch. Um, and I just wanted to mention that, not from a not from a sales perspective, though. Of course, if you're an immigrant entrepreneur listening to this, check out Porch. Um, but because it's another example of a community that I think provides incredible opportunity to help one another, to meet one another, to build relationships. And, we always say, even someone who comes to apply to Porch sometimes, Karen, we say, hey, listen, just like we said about prospecting, if Porch is not for you, that's okay. Let me recommend a couple other communities that might be for you. You know, find your tribe, as the saying goes. Find the people that you uh, connect with, that you build good rapport with, and join them and talk and learn and meet and grow. And for some people, that's Porch. For others, it's Pavilion. For others, it's all of the above. I'm in like 7 different communities. I love them all. But I guess that would be my advice: find your tribe, find a community, and meet as many damn people as you can.
I think that's amazing advice, Neil. And I can say wholeheartedly, what I've seen with what you and Hunter have created, that the members of Porch feel everything you're doing for them. I mean, when at the last Hall Tech event, when that couple came up from Iran and they shared the impact, I mean, I had tears in my eyes because everything you shared today about your purpose, authenticity, you bleed it into Porch. It's not just you're saying something, you're doing something else. This is all you're doing it in the B2B world, but you're also doing it in the immigrant community to Canada, and this changes lives, and there's children involved, and there's just it's so much bigger. So what you both have done has been inspirational and amazing, and I just want to thank you for creating this because it's so needed. And I when I see the benefits and the impact, it just makes me so proud to be a Canadian.
Wow. Well, now I'm getting you involved for sure. No, the one thing I'd say to that, Karen, and thank you for saying all that, but I'm going to deflect here because I feel that Hunter and my job is the same as a CEO building the culture of the company, just
Hmm.
to lead by example and set the tone of what you want that company to be. In our case, we just want to set the tone of what we believe the right culture of the community should be. That's all we do. And then we make sure that people hopefully understand that and align to it. And we're very careful about who we let into the community. People
Yep.
who don't believe the things that we're talking about today
Mhm.
generally don't come into the community, because it's very important that those people all, feel that it's important to help one another. If you're there to sell a product and not help one another, that's not what the community is about. Go
Yep.
join a marketplace.
Mhm.
But anyway, thank you for saying that. I'm
Yep.
blessed and honored, and thank you.
No, you live it. You live it and breathe it, which is great. And you have to be selective because I think you have to protect what you've developed, right? And it is very prestigious, but it's you don't want a bad seed in there either.
No, for sure, for sure. And that, I mean, maybe for another podcast, if you ever have me back, is the bad seed, right? It's like, fire quickly, hire slowly type of thing. There's a whole other topic to talk about there. No different in the community, right? Like if there is a bad seed, what do you do?
Hmm. Yeah, fire fast, get out.
Yeah, yeah,
There's a backdoor policy too,
for sure, for sure.
a back porch.
Yeah.
Um, well, listen, I want to thank you so much for taking time, especially when you're down south. You could be out in the rays, but you chose to spend time with us. So thank you so much. And Neil, for those who want to get to or connect with you, learn more about your CRO services, learn more about Porch, what is the best way for them to reach out to you?
Well, thank you. First of all, thank you so much for having me, Karen. It's a pleasure. I'm going to beg you to have me on again. I enjoyed chatting with you and having fun with you. So, thank you, thank you, thank you. To get in touch with me if you wanted to, and I hate this part because it sounds very salesy, but I'll just really quick. The website for Porch is www.porchcommunity.ca. That's all the information. I'm also on LinkedIn. Just look me up and DM me. Happy to talk with anyone. And then if anyone wants to learn more about fractional CRO or what that's all about, the website is www.revenuex.ca. All one word. And I can be found there. LinkedIn, I'm a big LinkedIn guy, so anyone can connect with me on LinkedIn, and I'd be honored to chat with you. And if you do connect with me, tell me you've heard me on Karen's podcast, because then I can tell Karen that it worked a little bit to
Woohoo!
talk with me. So anyway, thank you so much, Karen. It's been an absolute pleasure.
My pleasure. Thank you so much. And thanks everybody for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.